Catering. I want to thank them for hosting this event, but really thank them for what they do in running their own small business right here in Texas. Also want to thank Annie Spillman, who's next to me here, who heads up the National Federation of Independent Business that focuses on supporting small businesses here in the state of Texas. It's because of small businesses that Texas is the #1 economic juggernaut in the entire United States of America. We've been ranked the best state for business for 18 years in a row. We rank #1 with regard to gross domestic product. If you look at the GDP for the last quarter, Texas was had by far the fastest growing economy at a roaring pace of more than 10.1%. We're #1 for what's called Governor Cups Awards. The Governor Cup goes to the state that ranks #1 for the most new economic development projects brought to the state that lead to capital investment and jobs. We have won that award every year that I've been governor of Texas. I'm also proud to say that we won the award for being ranked #1 in the United States for Texas having the lowest business operating costs of any state in the United States. So what do all these facts mean? They lead to a very important consequence, and that is Texas now has more Texans with jobs than ever before in the history of our state. Well, to keep business booming in Texas, we focus on certain principles. One is the state of Texas partners with our businesses, like what we did today. I spent time to listen to concerns that these businesses have, challenges that they have, challenges that we can translate into policy initiatives that we can pass in the coming session that will make it even better for small businesses to operate in the state of Texas. We fast-track the regulatory process to make sure that government moves at the speed of business. We also focus on cutting property taxes. Every session that I've been governor, we've cut property taxes. I let them know about a proposal in my Taxpayer Bill of Rights that's so very important for small businesses in Texas, and that is to provide a $100,000 exemption for their business property tax. I want that to pass. That would be a terrific boon to our small businesses in Texas. And to show you our attitude about taxes in Texas, not only do we not have an income tax or a corporate income tax, we are so hostile to income taxes in the state of Texas, we passed a constitutional amendment banning an income tax in the state of Texas. But more to the point about these small businesses. Small businesses are the heartbeat of the economy in Texas. More than 90% of all businesses in Texas are small businesses. And I'm proud to tell you that Texas ranks as the #1 state in America to start a small business. Texas ranks #1 in America for small business job growth. And we're #1 in America for jobs created by black business owners and Hispanic women business owners. This is important because this is an issue of contrast with my opponent in this election. My opponent stands for policies and advances policies that would crush businesses large and small in Texas. He wants to implement policies that would raise the cost of doing business. He wants to force workers into unions. He's proposed ending right-to-work laws and wants European-style collective bargaining. He would destroy the Texas economic miracle that provides prosperity for Texans and businesses large and small in every corner of our great state. So I am running for re-election to protect small businesses and to boost that effort. I'm announcing our Small Business Coalition, a group to support and to promote the more than 3 million small businesses in the state of Texas. If you're a small business owner, if you are an employee of a small business, or you live in a community where you support a small business, please go to gregabbott.com to join my Small Business Coalition. That's gregabbott.com to support my Small Business Coalition. This group will work on and spread our pro-growth message that will lead us to victory on November the 8th. And my victory will be a victory for small businesses in Texas because I will continue to promote policies that keep Texas the #1 state for small businesses. Small businesses are the economic engine of the state, and we're going to keep it that way if you go today and join my Small Business Coalition at gregabbott.com. Working together, we will keep Texas the best state in America to live, to work, and to raise a family. At this time, I would like to pass it over to our host today, Greg Denherden.
Governor, thank you very much. As a co-locator between Boston, Massachusetts and Houston, Texas, I can just vouch the fact that is we in Texas lost about 18% of our restaurants. I can say that that number is much greater in Massachusetts. So again, thank you very much for your leadership through this endemic. However, as you know, brought on by the COVID, we are facing as small business owners challenges through this inflation, basically, that are caused by our supply chain, as well as labor force. And so this roundtable that you were so generous in attending with us means a lot to us, and I think that it will help us, and hopefully you can take what we've shared with you today back to Austin and your team and see if you can give us some assistance in those areas. So thank you again.
Thank you.
On behalf of our family business.
Sure. Thank you both. Next is Annie Spidman with Nfib.
Hi, thank you for having me. Yes, thank you, Governor, for participating. And I'm always so proud to have any event at an actual small business. This is the face of small business. And when he says this is a family-owned business, he's not just speaking of his beautiful mother right there, but of all of his employees. And that's the thing that I think everybody needs to realize is that small businesses, they care about their employees. It's not just an investment. It's not just a paycheck. And so when politicians try to come in and take their businesses single-handedly away from them, they're taking away that relationship that they have and the family that they have created. And really, when you think about communities, small business are they're a reflection of the communities. And so it's so it's so important that you have put your focus on small business through this coalition. And every promise that you've made to small businesses in the industries that we represent, which is pretty much every economic sector in this state, you've kept. And I appreciate that. And you said before they all came in that you were going to continue your mission to help protect small businesses. You know, I've done a lot of interviews, and we've talked about inflation, obviously, lately, and the supply chain issue and worker shortage, and before that it was the pandemic. And I've always said small businesses are resilient, and they are. You know, but there's really only so much they can handle until the bottom falls out and they're forced to close their doors, but they're forced to let people go, which is the hardest thing that they would ever have to do as a small business owner. In Texas, what we're facing right now, it could have been a lot harder if we had a really anti-business regulatory environment, but we don't. And so all that we ask is that we maintain this healthy environment. I've said the same thing to all 181 Texas legislators. You know, if anything, we can just, right now, I think it's all about just hanging on to what they can do, trying to thrive, but really, you know, stop the bleeding of this economic, you know, uncertainty by not creating more barriers through regulation and taxes. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate your commitment to doing that. And so I just want to say thank you. And again, thank you to all of you all, because you're what makes the world turn. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Texas.
There you go. We'll take a few questions.
Governor, yesterday you said that you would resurrect and challenge a 1982 law that had schools provide for education for undocumented children. I wondered how you plan to mount that challenge and whether you feel comfortable doing so now because of the new makeup of the court.
So what this really relates to is the change of facts and as well as a change in law since the Plyler decision came out. Plyler is a 40-year-old decision that dealt with immigration in the state of Texas that was extremely different then than it is now. And whatever immigration is now is going to be extremely different than what it would be with the lifting of Title 42. The sheer math given by the Biden administration, with the lifting of Title 42, it would lead to about 18,000 people coming across the border a day. Extrapolate that on an annualized basis, that's more than 6 million people coming across the border in a year. We're in Houston, that has about 3 million people as population. It took more than 100 years to create a Houston. We would be adding a new Houston every year coming across the border in the state of Texas alone. That leads to education obligations as well as other obligations that are simply unsustainable and unaffordable. And two things have happened since the Plyler decision came out. One is there have been multiple decisions issued by the United States Supreme Court in upholding and enforcing the anti-commandeering provision, or doctrine of the United States Constitution. What that means is this: the federal government cannot commandeer employees or budgets of states to effectuate federal policy. Federal policy is open border policies that allows a number of migrants coming in that the state of Texas simply cannot afford. And it should be the federal government, not the state of Texas, footing this bill. So the real crux of the challenge would be to say, listen, we are dealing with billions more a year just in educational expenses that you, the federal government, is only because of you, and it's your responsibility to pay for that. The other change is after Plyler was the Arizona case concerning immigration. And so when you add the Arizona case to the Plyler case, here's the situation we're dealing with. The Supreme Court has ruled states have no authority themselves to stop illegal immigration into the states. However, through the Plyler decision, they say, nevertheless, states have to come out of pocket to pay for the federal government's failure to secure the border. So one or both of those two decisions are going to have to go. Either the Arizona decision will have to go, giving states full authority to enforce U.S. immigration laws, or Plyler will have to go, saying that the federal government is going to be responsible for paying the states for the cost of education that we're incurring because of the mass illegal immigration that we're seeing today compared to the way it was 40 years ago.
Governor, which one of those two would you prefer to respond with?
Both.
Just to be clear, Governor, you're not advocating for kicking migrant children out of schools. You're saying the federal government should pay for it.
The state of Texas, whether it be education or other issues, Plyler happened to deal with education. The state of Texas should not be bearing the burden of the cost of immigration that's resulting from the Biden administration's refusal to enforce the immigration laws.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, do you have an estimate as to how much additional, you said kind of roughly billions, do you have a dollar amount for this additional funding if the state were to assume it for the education? And then I think everybody wants to hear your thoughts about the Roe v. Wade, document leak.
Sure. I'll answer both. So it depends on which ISD that you're in, so this number is going to vary. But roughly speaking, it costs about $7,500 per student for public education in the state of Texas. In some cases more, in some cases maybe less. And it just depends on the number of children who are coming here who would be enrolled in our schools. And let's say that's a million, and do multiply a million times $7,500, and you're talking about a lot of money. But there is another complication to this. When the Plyler decision came out, the immigration that we were seeing into the state of Texas was primarily from Mexico. And the only language barrier and issue was Spanish. Now we have people coming from more than 105 different countries across the globe. There are languages that need to be taught in school, or at least to communicate with children in school. There are at a minimum dozens of languages, maybe scores of languages. Who has that level of expertise? Where can we find the teachers who know all these multitude of different languages to where we would be able to educate kids, and think how much that would cost? So actually the cost for the education of the people who are here illegally would be higher than what the average cost would be. With regard to the abortion issue, listen to a couple things about it. First, let's be clear about something, and that is what has happened so far is what I consider to be a hijacking of a United States Supreme Court decision, where someone within that court is trying to interfere with the court process and impose undue pressure on the court to arrive at a result that appears to be different than what was in that opinion that was leaked that apparently came from Justice Alito. I'm not sure if that's criminal. It's wrong, no doubt about it, and it's unprecedented, no doubt about it, and the court's right to get to the bottom of it. Second thing along those lines, for the Supreme Court to show that they are not going to be pressured or bullied by this, I strongly urge the Supreme Court to get that decision out this week. Don't wait around and don't allow the bullying to occur on the streets, and whether it be in front of the Supreme Court or around the United States. Get the decision out now. The public has seen it. Get it out. If they don't have the votes for it, get something out. But from a broader perspective, listen, if the decision that comes out is the Alito decision, that dovetails with where the state of Texas has been ever since I've been governor, and that is we are a pro-life state, and we will continue to be a pro-life state.
Governor, you started this news conference about the economy and how everybody wants to come into the state of Texas because of the economic opportunities, and you rattled off the numbers there. One of the challenges that we're hearing from our viewers is, of course, everyone moving in is affecting their property values. Property taxes, the assessed values are coming up much higher than they have seen in previous years. And I see this gentleman kind of nodding his head, but I think everybody's nodding their head about property taxes. This said, there's been discussions about utilizing the state's surplus to try to pay down the school taxes to help alleviate families. Where do you stand on that? And overall, do you see an adjustment made in the next legislature about that?
The short, quick answer to your question is I strongly support using the state surplus to reduce the amount of property taxes owed. And I will explain how that will be done. But let me more fully answer your question, because there is an important message that you all get out to your viewers and readers. What people have received right now is not their property tax bill. What people have received is their appraisal. Their appraisals are going through the roof. What that means is the value of their home is worth more. If you look at the laws that we already passed, what we passed is the largest component of your property tax bill is your school maintenance and operation. And what we said is that, not what we said, the law that we passed limits schools from increasing their property tax revenue by no more than 2.5%. The easy point is if your property tax, if your property valuation increases 100%, your property tax bill is not going to increase 100% because there's a limitation on the amount of revenue that either a city or a county or a school district can receive. And so what that means is that despite a high valuation, that's going to lead to a dramatic cut in your property tax rate. So just wait until you see your property tax rates come out. Schools typically will come out in around the August time frame. And I can tell you for a fact, property tax rates across the state of Texas are going to go down, and all of that is a consequence of SB 2 and HB 3 that were passed back in 2019. Going back to your first question, let me tell you this. I have a taxpayer bill of rights that can be found at gregabbott.com that provides all these details about what I'm about to tell you. And that is, among other things, we do want to use state surplus to continue to buy down property tax rates every year. It must be done in a way where it's not a one-time buy down. Once you buy it down, you're in it forever. And so this has to be done in a way so mathematically it can be calculated. So if we put in $1 billion or $5 billion, whatever, it will be enduring for every year into the future. So that will just require some mathematical calculation. But there already exists a property tax relief fund, and we can very simply put the money into the pre-existing property tax relief fund and then provide a law about how you buy down the property tax rates. Our goal is very simply this: to continue to reduce property tax rates every single year until at some point in time, at a minimum, we can eliminate the school district maintenance and operation component of property taxes. That said, I want to add one other component real quick of my taxpayer bill of rights. And that is a reason why property taxes go up is in local communities, let's say Harris County and the city of Houston, the city or county may raise tax rates or let's say raise debt that leads to higher property tax rates. My proposal also calls for a supermajority vote for any of that type of debt. So as opposed to a majority vote, say in Harris County, it would require 2/3. As opposed to a majority vote in the city, again, it would require 2/3 vote in order to pass that. That makes it harder for debt increases to pass that would then lead to increases in property taxes.
Governor, regarding the questions
Can I get a follow-up on that?
specifically about...
Yeah, let's do your follow-up real quick, then we'll come over here.
The challenge, though, obviously, though, is with this growth, you're having so many people come in. I've seen it in other states that I've lived in as well. And there's an inventory issue that is going to be challenging for many years to come, which will keep these elevated prices that we're seeing in people's land values. What is the best way that can be addressed to help also at the same time curb some of these assessed values people are seeing?
Right. So you are correct that one of the reasons why property values are going up so much is because of inadequate inventory. That means that there's more demand than there is supply for it. And the solution for that is what's taking place as we speak. And that is builders are engaging in the process of building more homes. I know personally from projects that are massive developments that are going on in multiple regions around the state of Texas. The home builders are building as fast and as furious as they can. They're able to capitalize on this. They're able to profit off of this. And they're working hard every single day to build those homes. And so I do believe supply will be catching up with demand.
Last question.
So, sir, I have a question specifically about a law that was passed last year during legislative
Okay.
session, the so-called trigger law, so to speak.
Right.
And obviously, given the leak, this trigger law may be triggered soon. I'm curious how you plan to win people over who may be against a specific law during your upcoming election.
Sure. Well, so let's be clear about how easy that is. Go back in time to when I first ran for governor back in 2014. That issue, my opponent at that time was Wendy Davis, who ran for governor on the abortion issue. The election in 2014 was a referendum on abortion, and I won that race by 20 points. And so regardless of what position people have on abortion, I feel confident based upon my past history with regard to the issue, as well as my past history on elections in the aftermath of those issues, that I'm going to win just as easily this year as I did back when I ran against Wendy Davis.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.